Hello and welcome to the Video Game Flashback Podcast. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Video Game Flashback, of course, is on all of your favorite podcasting apps and trying to build more and more tentacles to the show. And, well, this one right here is a mini-sode, so we're going to go in a different direction for right now. This is not episode 30. Golden Axe, episode 30 for Sega Genesis should be out very soon. I'm pretty much about done with that one. So that's just a minor update. This is going to be a mini-sode where I'm going to talk about, well, let's say, on my other podcast, Brave the Wild, Minnesota Wild Hockey Podcast, I was asked a very fun question as to, like, comparing, say, the best, or like the biggest Minnesota Wild player that came in with high expectations and disappointed the most, like really high expectations. So I'm coming in with two video games as well, because Derek actually asked this question on the Brave the Wild podcast in the fan interaction segment about Minnesota Wild player, but also what video game came in with the high expectations that disappointed me the most at the end of the day. Like, I mean, we're talking astronomically high expectations. So I figured it was such a, I don't know. I mean, it was such an intense rant when I listened back to it. I couldn't believe it. Like, wow, that was, that's something I should probably get on this show. And plus you'll hear my true feelings about about a couple of games that really, you know, I had high expectations for, and just really let me down in a huge way. Ironically, they're all on the PS1, because we're talking, when you're going from the Super Nintendo into the PS1, you had such incredibly high expectations for games that were on the Super Nintendo, and then as the series of these particular games continued, and then one of them was Sega CD, of course. That's a pretty big hint. Sega CD to PlayStation 1. You think, okay, you know, they're gonna upgrade it. It's gonna be even better, like a better version of that particular game, and a Super Nintendo game going into PlayStation. That it's gonna be they're gonna do an amazing job on it. But that was when the disappointment really truly started for me and for other gamers. Though other people out there probably thought it was better going from, you know, one group, you know, from one era to the next. Sorry, I just don't agree. Though there are some fantastic PlayStation 1 games, these absolutely disappointed me in a big way. Listen. Derek Felska says, many people were disappointed with the new PS5 game Skull and Bones. What Minnesota Wild player who came in with high expectations disappointed you the most? What video game came in with the highest expectations only to disappoint, in your opinion? Well, I got something. Right now, Okay, yeah. Luckily, it doesn't have to be PS5, because I'm not into PS5 or 4 or even 3. I pretty much stopped at 2. Xbox, I pretty much stopped at the 360. I just kind of, you know, that kind of thing. I'm a retro person. You know, and even those I wasn't planning on getting. I got them when they were used and a little older already. But I'll digress to where I need to be. Yeah, so I'm glad you weren't asking like a modern, what PS5 game would be like. No, video game came in with the high expectations only to disappoint, in my opinion. There's definitely a lot. I would have to say, okay, well, there's two, and they're both for the PS1. Final Fantasy VIII is an opener. Final Fantasy VIII, like huge expectations, you know, but even 7 was disappointing after Sephiroth killed Aerith. I thought the rest of the game was insanely disappointing. Like, it just turned into kind of a mediocre sci-fi fantasy game rather than what looked like a storyline that was just going to be unbelievable, so deep and emotional, and just a lot going on, a lot of things to learn. And then they killed the most interesting character in the game, who had a lot to, you know, you thought she had a lot to offer to the storyline, and then it's like, I should have figured when you look at the player's guide and she only had a couple of spells. It's like, wait, what? That didn't make any sense. That was an indication, like she's not going to be there very long. So that was a huge frickin' disappointment. But 8, you know, coming in, you think, okay, this one's going to be really good. You're hoping for it. But then you notice the characters look like Leonardo DiCaprio and, I don't know, Jennifer Love Hewitt or something. And it's like, come on, I'm not looking for some little, you know, Dawson's Creek preppy little game. And that's pretty much what it was. Preppy little love story, you know, with Final Fantasy mixed in. Like, wahoo, it was really not for me at all. Not at all. Yeah, it didn't. That was a massive disappointment. The other one I think that really hurt. I mean, it hurt it hurt. It really did. Lunar the Silver Star story complete. Okay, so it's Lunar the Silver Star for Sega CD, and a Mount Rushmore, not only RPG but video game. A Mount Rushmore video game, Lunar the Silver Star for Sega CD. Insanely great game. About probably the best soundtrack ever. The storyline was fantastic. The overall gameplay was fantastic. The graphics, the vibe, the overworld music, unbelievable, unbelievable. And then here comes the Silver Star story complete. Oh, yay, better graphics. Oh, all the characters can talk. And they completely changed the soundtrack. But that's not all. They completely changed the entire gameplay. Everything. They turned it into Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, basically. It'd be like going from Final Fantasy 4 or 6 to Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Oh, but it has voices now and the graphics are better. So, I mean, the graphics weren't even bad on the Sega CD game. They were freaking awesome. They were way beyond any Sega Genesis game at the time, as far as I'm concerned. Freaking awesome game. And you come back with that utter disappointment. That piece of... Ugh. In Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is a playable, fun, enjoyable game, but it was also exactly what you expected when you bought it, because you put it in and that's what it was. Lunar the Silver Star story complete, you're expecting an improved version of an unbelievable game, and you get something that looks like it's for kind of semi for beginners. I mean, the only thing they improved on was Silver Star story complete. Not even the graphics necessarily, but they made Galleon a little bit tougher. I like that. That was the one thing they did. They made Galleon, the final boss, a little tougher, and his quotes were like better. I guess there's just more to him. It was like a deeper version of Galleon. That was the one improvement. Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Massive disappointment.